I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job. Yeah. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. I was born to preach the gospel. And I sure do love my job. Yeah. Yes, I really love my job. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. Yes, I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. Get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. So let's get firmly rooted. Oh, I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. Let's get firmly rooted. Firmly rooted. Let's get firmly rooted. Yeshua, 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 Yeshua. I'm a disciple that makes disciples, that makes disciples. We're disciples that make disciples, that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples, that make disciples. We are disciples that make disciples, that make disciples. Let's keep firmly rooted. Firmly rooted.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday morning. Pastor Tom Donnelly, Firmly Rooted Ministries, and we're strengthening our roots. We're looking at the second half of Acts chapter 19. I want to say good morning to Anne-Marie Bell. So far, the one brave person to register in. There's a few more out there I see. We'll give it some time. The day after Memorial Day, and so many wonderful posts reminding us that Memorial Day is more than just another extra day on a weekend, but it's a time for us to reflect on those who have served us or are serving us, and those who, in their service, paid the ultimate price. And can't help but remind all of us, Firmly Rooted family, that not only is that a proper way to live through Memorial Weekend, with some reflection on what it means that others have fought for the freedoms we have and the things that we have, because they're worth fighting for. But I think ultimately that Jesus is the ultimate picture of one who willingly sacrifices. And he does so not for people on his side, he does it for his enemies. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. What a powerful thing to think about, that Jesus far, far exceeds as he expresses the love of God that he didn't just die for believers. He didn't just die for people who believed in him. He didn't die just for his disciples. He died for all of humanity, bearing all of humanity's sins. And what greater picture of selfless, unconditional love. Let's see, Emily Connolly, good morning. Now she's on Facebook and not Emmicon on YouTube. Good to have you on board. All right, so there's not a whole lot for me to read or look at, so I'm just simply going to tell you what the second half is and what I think it means to our lives today. We know from Acts chapter 19 that Paul has been in Ephesus for quite some time. And we know that in his letter to the Ephesians, this is a church that he loved and cared for, no different than all of them. But it seems to me that he had some particular special ones, and Ephesus was one of them. But Ephesus was also the city that was known for its pagan worship. And what was really part of the industry of that day is idols. So silversmiths and woodworkers and carpenters, man, they made money on making images of the deities and making images of the things that were worshipped in this pagan religion. And so all of a sudden, this guy named Demetrius, who's a silversmith, he sees that Paul and this message of the gospel could become a threat, not just religiously, but could become a threat economically. That, oh my goodness, we're going to lose our industry, we're going to lose our money, we're going to lose everything that is for us. And so this guy creates a riot. He begins to stir everybody up. And then ultimately, for the second time now, instead of the Roman council, the leader, just joining in and heaping abuse on Paul, for the second time, you have God fulfilling his promise to Paul that he would not be attacked during this time of his ministry. And so the man basically tells Demetrius and everybody else to shut up, be quiet. You guys are out of line. This rioting is illegal. It's more illegal than what you're accusing this Paul guy of doing. And then ultimately, Paul goes with other believers, and the next day he leaves. Not terribly exciting. But we have to see that in this particular reading, a couple things. One is God protected Paul and he fulfilled his promise. God promised that he would protect Paul even if something were to occur, and he did. Secondly, we've just spent a few weeks talking about what the primary purpose of the church is, and that's to make disciples. And to make disciples, we are all going to be challenged to witness in some way, to let Jesus pour out of our lives onto others, and that might make us share something or pray with someone or love on someone. But you need to understand the world's not always going to react wonderfully to us, especially if we become a threat. So what I want you to see is it's not just Demetrius that's the problem, it's the demon behind Demetrius, it's the enemy. Paul is right when he says that our fight is not against flesh and blood, but it's against the spiritual principalities and powers. Satan cannot stand that Paul is being successful in Ephesus, and so he begins an attack. And so we as the church need to understand that when things are going right, Satan can't stand it, and he's going to attack. And we have to make sure that we don't get caught up in the rioting and all the stuff that's going on, but we got to stay focused on keeping things going the way they are and trust that God might protect us through the situation. So here you see the spiritual enemy riling up, no differently than Satan did in Jesus' life, no differently than he did periodically through his ministry, and it's certainly on the day of his crucifixion stirring things up. We have Satan stirring things up earlier in Paul's ministry as he gets stoned and beaten and put in jail. So Satan is always going to attack. But we need to remember that he who is in us is greater than he who is in the world, and not even the gates of hell can stand against the movement of the kingdom of God, and we're on the winning side. So coming out of Memorial Weekend, what a great way for us to see ourselves as soldiers of the cross, and that as we love on people and we speak the truth in love, we might not always get accepted, but we got to trust that God is for us and not against us. He's going to protect us, and we just keep on moving. We just keep on going because it's what God's called us to do, and trust that He is faithful. All right, I think that's all I have. Let's see, did anybody else pop on board? A few did, but they didn't say anything. So we'll leave it at that. All right, everybody, blessings on your day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.